Live. We never know when we're live, just because I
We're
don't know.
live. No, Robbie said we're going
What's
to be
up?
live straight up at 9 o'clock.
We're live. What's up, guys? Welcome back to What Were You Thinking? A show that we talk about various different sports, have many athletes on, and today we have a super special guest. Not Mike, but I'm going to point to him over here. Producer Bob is taking the helm, taking the reins from Mike, who can't make it today. Producer Bob is behind the scenes. He's the one loading up all the videos, loading up all the tweets, loading up all the content for us. So, Bob, what's up? How you doing?
Dev, it's rookie hour when I have these headphones on and you get like the legit headphones. Like
Well, I got my AirPods somewhere, but these are the ones I used to game, and they were just sitting at my desk already. So,
it looks way
I,
more official. Mine just looks like total rookie guest who's been doing Zooms all day.
yeah, fair enough. I just threw these on, but these work well. But yeah, no, welcome back to the show. We have now been what 18 episodes, 19 episodes.
This is day 20.
Day
Day
20.
20.
So 20th episode, over 2 million views, somewhat of like 24,000, 25,000 hours watched of this show, which is kind of funny to think about because I'm like, man, I probably sound stupid in half of these. So, um, but yeah, so we're talking about, some of the Olympic sports, winter and summer, me being a summer athlete, two-time U.S. Olympian in the 110-meter hurdles, fifth place in Rio, fourth place in the Olympics in Tokyo. And it's a show pretty much run by athletes. We bring athletes on to kind of share the insights, the ins and outs, and coaches and all that stuff about training, diet, what they do for fun, which is a lot of fun. So today on the show, we have a few guests. First, we're gonna have Josh Awotunde, who's a shot putter from the U.S. He actually went to South Carolina, so he's a Gamecock. He is actually currently getting ready for the 2022 World Indoor Champs. That's going to happen in about 11 days from now. The first days in 11 days. He's a 2018 SEC champ, four-time NCAA All-American, and we're going to bring him on in just a second here and kind of talk about his career and his goals, moving forward. And then for the second part of the show, we have a really special guest coming from the Beijing Olympics, Rosie Brennan, who's a cross-country skier for the U.S., and she couldn't make it here, which she was super bummed about because we were really excited to talk to her. But producer Bob had the chance to interview her earlier, so we got some pre-recorded segments and questions that we're going to ask, and then after that, we're going to kind of talk through that and just kind of give our insights on how she's feeling. And obviously, her answering these questions is something that we asked her things that we're interested in finding out about as an athlete and as a fan of the Olympics. Bob is as well. So it's going to be a great show. We'll probably bring Josh in here any second. It's kind of interesting because Bob's also bringing everybody in.
I'm bringing everyone in. So the beauty of this is I can bring them in exactly when I want to bring them in. So first of all, I think part of the magic of this show, Devon, is I've been thinking about this a lot, as we're out pitching brands. By the way, we're still looking for some brand sponsors. If you have any shout outs, Dev,
no free shout outs today. I got an empty glass.
But I think part of the magic of the show that we, not exactly stumbled into, we thought it was going to be a good idea, this idea of mixing winter and summer athletes into the same show. And I am curious about what you think about where you think that kind of that little magic comes in, right? Because I think, again, you're the glue to the show, you're the face of the show. Where do you think that magic is between the winter and summer athletes on the show?
Well, I think the magic of that is how similar we really are, even though our sports are so different. The training is very similar. The rigors of day-to-day life, right? How we kind of, how we treat every day, our intent in training and what we eat and how much money we spend on physical therapy and massage therapy and travel. And, it's all pretty much the same when we think about it, especially in the U.S., because we've been talking mostly to U.S. athletes. We had Benji and Natoya on who are Jamaican, but in the U.S., sometimes, the level of, for the Olympic sports, at least the level of support might not be as closely matched to like maybe a Chinese speed skater. we had on the show, early on. So I think it's pretty cool to get that insight, and I think just talking to athletes in all different sports and is really cool in general. And hopefully this kind of transitions into an all sport, show where I got a lot of friends that play in the NFL now. I played college football, so hopefully we can get them on, and then we build some traction with that. Get some baseball guys on and talk about that, because I'm super interested just to kind of learn that mindset and get to kind of pick the brain of the elite athletes, the world's greatest athletes, right? In all sports.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're hitting it. I think that's the part that's really super fun, right? So it's because you are an elite athlete, you're already have a different mindset that you can bring into the questions and kind of the banter, and to me that's the cool part. I do have some curveballs for you today, Dev. Like Josh, who we're going to bring on in a second here, but Josh sent me some pretty fun videos, and I think I have a hunch that you're going to get inspired by one in particular, and I think I think I'm going to lead the show with it. But why don't we just you want to bring Josh in? Should we just
bring him in?
Let's do this. So there's usually a slight lag here. So when you and Mike are saying, Bob, bring him in, Bob's clicking to bring him in. And so let's see how the lag actually is. So here we go.
All right, let's time it.
Go.
And go.
There's the lag.
There he is. Well, he's waving at us. He's waving at us.
He should be popping in any second.
There it. Oh, that takes less than 10 seconds. Josh, what's up, brother?
Oh, guys, how you guys doing?
I'm good. How are you?
How's the audio? Can you guys hear me good?
We got. I think we got a little garble going in your audio, Josh. It's a little.
AirPods. Let me try without the AirPods.
Devon, this is what happens. We always have some little hiccup.
No, that's all right. I mean, that's kind of the beauty of an online show is, one, we can get guests all over the world at all times, right? So, and so a little bit of technical difficulties is not that big a deal.
So,
we usually get it figured out.
While we're going to figure this, while Josh is figuring it out, I'm just going to throw up this video, though, because this is so good. Wait till you see. It's just so good. Guess which guy is Josh?
100%. I know who Josh is. I can see by the way he's flowing and moving. I can hear you perfect now, Josh. I want to say you're the quarterback.
Yeah, man.
Look at
that. Hey, my boy.
This is what I'm saying, Dev. This is what I'm saying.
Had the rocket launcher.
Hey, I might be out there. You're up in you're in Jersey right now, right? New Jersey.
I'm in South Carolina, but that's where I went to high school in New Jersey.
Oh, okay. So you're not too far from me. I'm in Maryland, but hey, cool. I need a QB. I'm trying to get back into this little football thing. I might
trying to start
catching the rock.
A flag football league.
hey, I'll do whatever I need to do to get back to playing.
For sure, man. I miss it too every day, for sure.
That's awesome. So you play.
Maybe we have to do a little of this too, Dev, for you.
I mean the weight thing is going to be.
So Josh, thanks for being on the show, man. Really appreciate it. We were super excited to get you on, and Dev, I'm going to toss this to you. I have a ton of questions, but I'm going to take your lead today. You're taking the A seat. I'm taking the B seat. And so I'm just taking your lead now.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, this is perfect just because me and Josh are pretty close in age. I think you're 26, right?
Yep, 26.
Yeah. So we were in college, and I was actually looking through your resume, and you were NCAA's probably around the same time. My last year was actually 2016, but you were there. Kind of tell me about your college experience as a track athlete. And especially a thrower, and being from the SEC, which is a big sports dynasty school. Just sports dynasty in general. So kind of tell me your experience and how you enjoyed it and all that fun stuff.
I mean, the SEC. I mean, it just means more. That's what they make the T-shirts. That's what the T-shirts say. So when I got to school, it was pretty. I was a small guy, I was a quarterback in high school, so I only weighed 225 coming in. So
Okay, only
I knew
225.
yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but I knew like to be able to be an elite thrower in college, I was gonna have to pack on at least 50 pounds. But of course it was gonna be a gradual thing. Coming out of high school, I wasn't really highly recruited. I was a smaller guy, but people thought I was gonna be a discus thrower. But once I got to school and I started packing on pounds, I ended up just trending more towards the shot put. But I took years to get sophomore year. Maybe I was 245, junior year 265, senior year. I had 2 senior years because I redshirted. I was around 280, and then I got up to 305 for my 5th year. But it was a process. A lot of tough days. SECs didn't always go my way. There were injuries some years, and some years my technique just wasn't on for some reason. And but I knew just coming down to the SEC, I'd get bigger, stronger, faster, and elite. Just training with that competition, like going to SECs and seeing who was running. Deion Lendor at Texas A&M was killing it when I was here, and then Fred Curley. I had some Passover with Fred Curley too, and he was killing it. And it was just the greatest conference, I thought, man. And I definitely tried to make the most of it.
So you're a Gamecock. What other
Yep.
schools were you recruited by, and what was kind of the deciding factor, when you decided to go? And I know it's kind of hard too, and you can give us as much info as you want, but in track and field, the fans might not know, but there's only 12 scholarships for the men's side?
Yeah,
total,
it's like 12.
right?
Yep, total.
So yeah, you got a team of probably 40 to 50 guys at least on the
cross
team.
country, all
And so
that stuff too.
Exactly. And you're trying to split 12 scholarships in between all those guys. So kind of give me the rundown. You don't have to tell me if you're on full scholarship or partial or whatever you want to tell me, but kind of tell me, how the recruiting process went, what other schools you were considering. Were you considering playing college football? That's always something that, we like to hear as a dual sport athlete that you are, kind of like your mindset going in from high school and being like, hey, I'm the guy, on the football field and on the track. Now I got to decide what to do leading forward.
Yeah, man. That was tough. All right. So football, I was a football guy. I remember growing up in the Northeast, Penn State was the place to be. Like, I was a huge Penn State fan in middle school, all through high school. And then I went to their camps growing up, maybe my junior year, and I was just lighting it up. I was trying to play quarterback in college. So I went out to their camp.
Yeah.
And I was lighting up the show. Joe Paterno's son. I had coaches asking me, like, where are you from, man? What school do you go to? Like, who is this kid? I've kind of always been like the underdog my entire career.
Yeah.
And then even at my high school, it wasn't really like super quarterback friendly though, So we ran a wing T. You saw I was under center both of those plays that you showed. Like, we didn't throw the ball, but like I knew how to throw well, and I wanted to, but I was hoping my high school would make some adjustments for me. But we were a great program. Like my senior year, we won the state title, and then 5 years after that, we continued to win the state title. So like, we were just a program. We ran the ball and we played defense, But for offers, I'd say Buffalo offered me, and Monmouth and James Madison was my first offer that I got for football. But they all wanted me to play outside linebacker, and I was I wanted to be a quarterback, and then track started coming in, and I was like, man, I wouldn't mind just going to college and throwing the discus or the shot put. We'll see what the scholarships are. I didn't really know too much about it. And then a throws coach came, Carrie Lane from Nebraska. She came on a house visit, and me and my family, I say we really didn't know too much about scholarships. We didn't know too much about track and field, like scholarships in college and the NCAA and all that stuff. So she came and she wanted to bring me out for an official visit to Nebraska to watch like the Michigan-Nebraska game, which was going to be a top 25 game that year.
For sure.
And then I ended up, the day I was supposed to get on that flight to go to Nebraska, my dad got me to the airport maybe 30 minutes before the flight took off. And then I ended up missing.
So you missed the flight. Yeah.
Yeah, man. But yeah, Nebraska, I wish I took that trip, but Nebraska was definitely there first. Like, they started recruiting me the hardest first. And then after, things kind of fell through in Nebraska. Oklahoma got on board. East Carolina got on board. UConn, Rutgers, South Carolina. Those are my top 5. And then I took a visit to OU, had a good time. They had a lot of throwers down there. It was Coach Blue Trick, who's coaching at Arizona State now with Turner Washington. He's a great throws coach. He actually recruited a girl from my high school back in the early 2000s, which was when he was at UNC. So my coaches kind of wanted me to go to Blue Trick again, but I mean, I don't know. Growing up in the Northeast, for some reason, we had a lot of SEC games on TV. And I would see like the SEC network. That's when it started blowing up and stuff like that. And I would just watch their games and see all how excited everybody was for like the sports down there. And like, you know, from gymnastics to track to, I was like, man, they're killing it. South Carolina was the only school from the SEC to recruit me. And I took that visit and I just fell in love with the campus. And I just knew the SEC was like the place to be when it comes to track and field if I really want to bring the best out of myself. So made the decision. They were the first ones to give me a full scholarship as well. Nebraska came in and they were giving me maybe like 60%. And then Oklahoma, you know, they gave me 80%. And then South Carolina was the first ones to give me a full scholarship. And then right after that, Oklahoma came on board. And then East Carolina came on board. They were all going to give me a full. But, I mean, just coming down here, I just fell in love with the campus and the coaching staff and the team. And, you know, they really didn't have that much of a recent history of throwers. Like back in the 90s and early 2000s, like we were a powerhouse. And we're still known for those days, mostly for the throws. But I kind of got things back going again once I got down here.
Yeah, no, that's an amazing story.
I'm curious to kind of jump ahead, and we can bounce around. We don't have any linear format here, but I'm curious to know, Josh, like, and maybe to share with everyone who's watching, like, what era we're living in the world of shot put. I'm not sure that people really understand necessarily what is going on. Because on one hand, it feels like you're either born in the absolute worst era, or you're born in the absolute best era. So give everyone the context of what is happening in the shot put.
The indoor and outdoor world records were both broken last year by one guy, and it started, I don't even know, I'd say 2016 was just the beginning. I mean, Ryan throwing 22-40, breaking the Olympic record was just the beginning of like what was to come for the next 5-6 years. Like after that, I don't know, I think it's really like the access to information. I think kids, like even growing up, going back to my high school and seeing kids, like the amount of YouTube videos, you know, Instagram, they got all these thrower accounts and lift accounts. I didn't really look into that stuff when I was in school, and like that stuff is just coming out the woodworks now. Kids are just so much more advanced at a young age. But even the top guys now, all these guys over 22 meters is insane. These college guys I've never seen. It took 1950 to make NCAAs this year. That's the highest it's ever been to make the indoor shot put. So it's just this is like rare air that we're breathing right now when it comes to shot put.
And Josh, you make a good point. I was just thinking about the social media and YouTube thing. It's like, you know, it's crazy to say as a professional athlete, and you know, me and you are both at a high level in our respective events. You know, I'm learning stuff from Instagram. I'm seeing a drill that I like. I'm like, dang, this is actually a good drill. Like, I might have to do this.
Man. Yeah, man, I feel the same way. And even like in the weight room, just seeing. And it's also like you can kind of compare yourself to other guys too, you know, like seeing what people are doing, what they're lifting. A couple of weeks ago, I had a front squat, and I front squatted 505. And like a week before that, Ryan Krauser posted a front squat video of him front squatting 495. And then, you know, I did 505 for a double, you know, and he hit it for a single. And it wasn't like, you know, a big beef thing, but he posted a YouTube video of him saying like, oh yeah, the front squat, man, don't use straps like Tunde, man. He uses straps and he doesn't squat low enough, you know. But it's just funny, you know, you kind of motivate each other going back and forth.
I didn't see that. I was wondering.
He's just you know that that Twitter beef, that Instagram beef gets real, especially in the weight room, because it's so like objective, right? You can just be like straight up, like, what do you clean? I clean like 135 kilos. Right, you're like, okay,
that's it, man.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, but yeah, no, I want. Go ahead. Sorry. No, I was going to say I want to go back to just when you were talking about your recruitment story and how big of a deal it is to get a full scholarship.
Yeah.
On a track team. So, right, like I want to let the fans that are watching this, like, this is not a joke. Like, If
Yeah,
you
man.
are getting recruited as a throw, especially a thrower, like you said, and you're getting a full scholarship, you're the guy. And it's kind of crazy because I coach at the Naval Academy now. I'm a sprint hurdle coach
Cool.
for a college team where my coach is the head coach. And so it's a little bit different because there's not really a traditional scholarships, because anybody that gets into the Naval Academy that, can make it is paid by the government.
Yeah, for
Right.
sure.
So like you can get whoever you want, but it's a little bit harder to recruit, obviously, because you need to commit to 5
Not
years of
everybody's
service.
getting in. Mm-hmm.
But just the same thing we do. Like when we're recruiting these athletes, we're like, okay, like this guy runs 47.5. Like that's a guy that's gonna score right away. So like we're thinking about that. So I'm sure the coaches, when you were getting recruited, were like, oh man, this guy's about to be our golden goose. He's about to turn up on SECs and NCAAs and scores all the points, which is great.
Yeah, it was a joke. I'd say, getting that full scholarship, that does not happen for throwers. I'm gonna tell you guys a story when I went to East Carolina, man. I don't know if I should be sharing this, but I'm gonna share it with you guys. When I went out to ECU, it was 2012, and LeBron, D Wade, and Chris Bosh were in Miami. They had the big three. So the ECU coach came up to Jersey and took me, my family, and like 2 other guys that I competed against in high school out to dinner at a diner. And then they said, yeah, you guys should come down to East Carolina. We want all 3 of you guys. It'll be awesome to have all 3 of you here. So they brought us down to East Carolina. And on our visit, they gave us like a slideshow presentation of LeBron and the big 3. And they were like, man, how do you think they got all 3 of these guys to come to this school? They had to take pay cuts, So we're going to give you 60%, you 40%, and you maybe 30%. And like, if you guys all come here, we're going to win a title. Just like that. So that was pretty nuts. None of us ended up going.
That's crazy.
That's a bold strategy.
That is a bold
That's a bold strategy.
Yeah.
Dang.
I shouldn't have named the school, but I mean,
it's all right. But that's the name of the game, right? Like, especially being a coach now, I kind of know how it works. I went to University of Oregon. Luckily, I was on football scholarship, so I didn't cost the scholarship for the track team. And my coach was always joking about it all the time, like, man, I'm the best free athlete ever, on the track team, because with the years I was healthy and competed, I won NCAA title and Pac-12 and stuff like that. So I'm a walk-on, so that's free. That's free money, free points.
That's hilarious. Yeah, getting a scholarship, man, especially out here in the throws, it's hard to come by. You kind of got to get a full. I'd say those guys who get full scholarships are like the guys that they're scorers right away. Almost, they get to school and they got top 3 potential in the conference already. So, I mean, South Carolina kind of took a chance on me, that I'd be able to score in the shot put and the discus, which I did. But I mean, that's pretty rare, man. It was tough to get that for sure.
Hey, Josh, this is of all the videos you sent to me for the show here, this is my favorite one. So, Devon, this is what I love about shot putters. Just look at this. It's just a guy on the side of the road throwing a shot. Like this is meat and potatoes, right? This sport should be it is for the people who know it, a wildly popular sport, right? Yeah. So Josh, one of the things in all the work that we do at World's Greatest, we have this research tool, and we can kind of predict things, but we've quantified that shot put fans are the biggest fans of all other Olympic sports.
Yeah, I agree.
So they're like these super fans within all the 55 Olympic sports,
Oh, man.
But this is what I love. People are driving down the street, and there you are, just thrown away.
Yeah, man. People beep at me all the time, man. They scream my name out the windows, Tunde, as I'm throwing in the shot put.
And no one's retrieving the balls for you. You got to go down there and get them.
Yeah, man. I was just out there today doing the same thing that I've been doing for the past, 6 years now, man. It's fun. It's awesome.
Well, that's the thing about shot putters too, is, from the outside looking in, it, looks very simple.
Yeah.
Right. But it's super technical, especially being an elite shot putter. And me and Ryan Krauser are really good friends.
That's awesome.
We have the same manager. We spend a lot of time on the road traveling together to all the pro meets. We spend about 10 days, and Bellinzona, Switzerland,
Wow.
with the B Zona boys. So, and I actually just went to on days that I had off days, right? Like you're bored. I went to his practice and just watched him,
That's awesome.
train. And he's trying to like talk me through everything, right? He's like, this is why that wasn't a good throw. And I'm like, bro, isn't that? I was like, didn't you put that cone at 22 meters? Like you just threw it over that cone. Like, how is that not a good throw?
That's a good throw, yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, oh no, well, I was too fast out the front. I got to accelerate the whole way around. He's giving me all this insight. I'm like, dang, that's crazy because it's super technical. And then I spent a lot of time with him in the weight room. Oh, and I'm sure that's like probably number one or number two for you as well.
For sure,
like just just creating that strength and that force and stuff like that. So tell me your like favorite lifts and like give me some of your stats just because the fans want to hear that. They're like, oh, they're gonna be like, they're gonna ask like what you bench, right? That's like the funny,
So,
what do you bench?
I bench 507 as my all-time PB. 507. Yeah, it's like that because we weighed it out in kilos. It's 230 kilos. And then my back squat is 725, man. That was a pretty good lift. But I'm gonna take it back. I'm gonna take it back to the technique thing about shot put. Because when I got to school here, I didn't know too much about the shot put. I just trying to turn around, get as low as possible. And I did squat 500 pounds in high school. So, I mean, I knew my legs were the strongest part of my body. And I could also clean like 315 in high school. And then I was just trying to turn around and just jump at the finish as hard and as high as I can. And then it would go like maybe 61 feet. But I was 225, so I'll give myself a little bit of a break. When I got
maybe
college,
61 feet, that's a great throw.
Yeah. It is. And then when I got to school, though, everything just kind of just like got broken down, like every aspect of the throw, the rhythm, the length, the speed, just the control through the ring, man. It's just, there's so much that goes into it. I almost say like, man, when I was in school, I probably watched maybe an hour of film a night, man, just on like, the Randy Barnes, Reese Hoffa, Adam Nelson, those different, I'm sure you probably did the same thing, just to like see what, and like compare yourself to like what they're doing. But I mean, it's almost like meticulous, man. Like there's so many different aspects of the throw. The best way that I found that works the best is just to keep it simple, though, man. You can't really try and overthink things through the ring. I'm sure it's like the same way in hurling. You want to go over, maybe have like a bent knee or something like that over there. I don't know much about it, but yeah.
No, 100%. And like you said, like you're watching that film, you're trying to pick out like the things that you do well, and then that you see somebody else do well that you can be better at, and then you're trying to like hammer that into your like muscle memory. So when you get to the competition, right, you don't even think about it, right? You just when you grab that ball and you step into the ring and you start you stop thinking right here. Like you go black, right? And then you just go and throw it and you're like, that didn't feel good. But then it's kind of hard to like, adjust at the time. That's why you spend so much time training. But that's amazing. Just the amount of time and effort and everything that goes into.
How was your college experience though, man? Because once upon a time I wanted to be a dual sport athlete as well, but I just ended up sticking with track.
Yeah. It was amazing. I loved it. And I'm glad I actually ended up at Oregon and they gave me the opportunity to do both. The upside was like we had a great track team when I was there. We won 2 national titles as a team. I won a few national titles, as an individual as well. And then my redshirt freshman year when I was the leading receiver, the year Marcus Mariota won the Heisman, we made the national championship in football too. So like I had an amazing experience, great career. The only negative was just like I was so busy, man.
Yeah, like I believe it.
So I was people were asking me exactly. I'm sure you're probably gonna ask me like what my schedule looked like.
Yeah, for sure. Like in the fall, were you doing like track stuff too or not?
No. So in fall, I focused just on football. Okay. Like I was completely locked in, obviously. So I looked out Coach Radcliffe, Jimmy Radcliffe. He's our strength and conditioning coach at Oregon. He is actually the strength and conditioning coach for the track team as well. And he's a big track and field enthusiast and kind of knows the programming for all that. So my programming looked a little bit different, right? He was like, okay, I want Devon to be strong, we got to keep them fast, keep them explosive, because that's what it makes them excel on a football field as well.
For sure.
So did that, like did the whole football season till January 1. We played in our bowl game, and then come January, I took like a week off. Come January 7, I started training, and then like January 15, they ran in the first meet every year. So yeah, it just kind of went forward. But that's when I got super busy. Was like during spring ball.
Oh,
like
no.
in April
too.
In April, so we got get in like 6 a.m. for like treatment. We have like a 7 o'clock, 7:30 lift. We have meetings, and practice would be from like 9 to 11:30. And then we shower. I eat lunch at 12. I have class from like 12 to 2. And then from 2 to 4, I have track practice. And then from 4 to 6, I have class. And then from 6 to 7:30, I have meetings. And then I eat dinner at 8, and then I go home, and then I do that all over again. So my whole days were like,
I mean, those are two top-notch programs in both football and track. So, I mean, I guess a lot is expected out of you. I don't know too many guys that's doing that. So, commend to you, bro. That's a lot of hard work.
I got a question for both of you guys. So it just dawned on me as I'm sitting here and listening and watching you guys. So both of your jobs is all about like fractions of seconds and it's like hundreds of thousands of seconds, and it's millimeters or centimeters. Like, this is the improvement that you guys are looking to gain, right? So the mentality of that, this is what fascinates me about athletes like yourselves. What is the approach to go, all right, I'm going to get this much faster. I'm going to throw this much further, and that's what's going to get me to that next level. What is that mentality?
I mean, I'll start if that's cool.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, you kind of just gotta just keep chipping away is kind of what I like to say. One of my coaches used to say, man, you gotta burn the bridges. I mean, burn the boats almost. You gotta kind of. There's no turning around at this point. It's like so every day to day, you just kind of gotta stay focused. Just keep chipping away at your goal. It's like you have this ultimate goal that you want to achieve, and like once you get to a certain level, day to day, it just gets harder and harder to make those little improvements. So it's just like you just gotta stay focused, and I'm not sure, like just keep chipping away at it every day and just hope to see some results at some point. You really can't worry about seeing success right away because like seeing success, it's never like a steady incline. There's always going to be downs and divots and stuff like that, but you just have to be mentally aware that the goal is not now. The goal is in June. Like I coach some kids right now, and occasionally, like I see them just trying to throw way too hard. I'm like, man, you don't have to break the world record today, man. Like you're at practice right now. You're a freshman in college. You got time to really just stay the course and get better every day. So I mean, track is just one of those sports, especially once you get to that next level. It's kind of like, oh, do I have to do this to get better? But I always find myself just kind of going back to the basics, back to where it all started, on like making those better improvements for myself. So, yeah,
that's cool. And how about you, Dev?
Yeah, to be honest, I probably couldn't have said it any better. The analogy I give my athletes is like 1% better a year.
Wow.
Right. And you think about that, like that's not a lot. You're like, man, I'm not trying to, just think of it in terms of since 2014. Let's just say 2014 was my freshman year in college, and I ran 13.1.
Yeah.
Right. And I got 1% better every year to 2024.
That's huge.
I'll be running 12.2.
Yeah.
Which would be the world record by 8/10. Right.
Yeah.
So and that's the thing, like you said, Josh, like it's always going to be ups and downs and valleys and like really big accomplishments. But the important thing to remember as an athlete is to focus and have intent each day with trying to improve on something. And you might not feel good every day, right? Like you're like, oh, my hamstring's sore, or my arm hurts, or I can't do this. But then maybe that's a day where you're like locked in on the technical side.
Yeah.
And then some days you feel great, you freaking hammer, right? Like, oh, I feel amazing. I'm gonna try to go for that 520-pound back, bench press.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like, and that's kind of the goal. Each day you kind of like take a inventory with how you feel, and then say, all right, well, my goal is 1% better this year, so that means I need to get like 1/300th better today. Damn. Right? If I have 300 training days.
Yeah, that's huge. So I like that.
But yeah, you just got to chip away, like you said. Like it's never like, and it's so hard coaching kids that want to see results right away. And as a coach, you want to help them accomplish their dreams and stuff like that. But like, I'll go to like, I'm coaching the hurdlers, and I have a guy, one of my athletes who's doing great, and he ran a PB last week, and he's like, oh man, I could have ran a little bit faster and this and that. And he's a great athlete, and he's competitive, and that's the way he's built, and that's what makes him great. But I'm like, bro, you just ran a PB. Like, you just ran the fastest you've ever run today. Yeah, like, give yourself a break. Come back next week, and we'll keep chipping away.
Yeah,
so man, that's the mindset you got to have.
Yep.
I don't know how much time you have, Josh, but we'll just keep talking.
I'm coaching right now, man. It's all good.
I'm obsessed with, we named the company World's Greatest, right?
Yeah.
And for me, it's interesting. Everyone's like, how'd you come up with that name? And very early on, it was like, I'm not building this company for it to be absolutely the people that are right at the top of the podium. It's a path, right? It's I'm on the road to being the greatest that I can be. This is what we're building, right?
Okay.
But my question I'd love to ask is so what does it take to be the greatest? And again, maybe this is again for both you guys, but Josh, let's start with you. What does it take to be the greatest?
An immense amount of discipline, for sure. I mean, I'm not saying you have to be perfect every day, but I mean, every day you kind of have to have a goal for yourself, and you have to be willing to attain that goal. I mean, some days you might not want to do it. Some days you might not want to go out to practice, but it's those days that really make you the athlete that you're supposed to be. Just rolling out, like the little things, honestly, like rolling out before practice, getting a good stretch in before you go to sleep. Make sure you're drinking enough water, getting a good diet in. I mean, I think at this point, it's just going to be the little things for me, just staying disciplined and just trying to execute to the best of my ability. Sometimes it might not be good enough, like Devon was just saying. Some days are going to be a little tough than others, but it's going to be that 1% a year. That's it. You just got to keep building every day, and hopefully one day you achieve that goal. But if not, I mean, you're going to do a lot more than you thought you could do at the start.
Man, when you said that, like the first thing that came in your mouth, discipline, I was like, man, this dude's in my head.
Yeah,
like,
man.
Dude, like we're on the same wavelength 100%. So I'm not going to even ask. I'm not going to even add to that, because exactly what you said is what it takes. And just being consistent with it, and just, like you said, having a goal. And, it's important. Like there's no goal too crazy. Like you said, 1% better. Like what's your PB? 22 meters flat, right?
Yeah. Yep. 22.
All right. Say you got 1% better this year, and you throw 22.
I'll take
like
that.
You take that, and then next year you're throwing 22.50.
Yep.
And then next year you're throwing 22.85.
Exactly.
And then next year you're throwing 23.1. You would take that all day. If I could tell you right now, in 4 years you're gonna be throwing 23 meters, you'd be like, oh, I'm good. I'm staying the course. I'm staying the course.
1%, man. We got to figure it out at this point.
hey, sign us up.
Right.
I like this 1% idea, Dev. This is good.
Hey, we should get some T-shirts made or something.
Yo, man, get that tatted one time.
Yeah, but no, it's so important, especially with like goal setting and stuff like that. Is you set a goal, right? Olympic gold medal, right? That's all of us probably. That's one of our goals.
It is.
How do we accomplish that? Okay, first of all, I probably need to be the best, thrower in South Carolina, and then the best thrower in the U.S., and then the best thrower in North America, and then the best thrower, in the world, right? So you just chip away and take those steps. So yeah, exactly what you said is how to be the greatest. That discipline, following a plan and just being committed to what you're doing, because you can't fake this.
No,
right? Your mind, no matter how much you want to fake it, like, oh, I got all that work in. Yeah. Your mind knows if you didn't or you did.
For sure.
You can't fake it. There's no faking it.
Yep. I mean, the
So
point you said about consistency too, like that's huge. That kind of ties in with discipline. It's like, I mean, how do you expect to get better if you're, maybe you take 2 days off of throwing? Oh, I'll just throw 3 days next week. You usually throw 4 times a week. Oh, I'll just take 2 days off and then get back and maybe I'll throw 5 times next week or something like that. I mean, every day kind of has to be the same routine. You just got to be in a routine of like what you need to get done. You have to kind of set a schedule. And sometimes you might get away from like your regular routine, but I mean, the least time that you do that, probably the better you're gonna be. Just gotta stay
100%.
focused. Stay
Yeah,
disciplined.
and as an athlete, it's hard because you're going to be on the other end of the spectrum too, where you're forced out of training because of injury.
Yeah.
Or like
Sure.
you're feeling like that. And a lot of my athletes that I'm coaching are like, oh, my hamstring's bothering me,
Yeah.
and I'll be like, okay, like, you never complain, like,
Yeah.
good, you're communicating to me, let's take it easy today. And then the next day they're like, oh, let me do twice as much today. Like, that's not how it works.
Nah, no way.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey, I was like, hey, I'd rather you miss a day,
Right.
and you're not going to get your 1/300th better, but
Sure.
you're not going to miss a week because you hurt.
Exactly.
Right. And that's
No,
and that's
I
and that's
agree.
the thing is like you gotta that whole consistency aspect and just committing
Mhm.
to, being on a schedule and stuff like
Yeah,
that is
man.
important because,
Mindset.
you gotta have a
Yeah.
plan. If you don't have a plan, then there's no way you can
Exactly.
accomplish something. So I
Yeah,
love it.
man. I mean, you kind of got to have a little bit of faith too that like the system that you're in or the program that you're in is
Oh,
gonna
100%.
pan out right. Like say all right, last season, everything was great. I had little nicks in the weight room, messing with my bicep, had a back injury, something like that, and then I was still able to really train for maybe 4 months consistently. Build that fall base training. I hit that pretty hard, and as we got closer to USA's and the end of outdoor season, I got injured. I was flying back and forth to Europe. I came back. I could barely like lift my right shoulder over my head, and like my hip
Hmm.
was hurt even when I was walking. Like I was pretty nicked up. That was after my first trip to Europe, and then after that, I took a month off. Man, I didn't throw for 2 weeks, and then I started lifting again the third week, and then I started lifting and throwing on that fourth week. That fifth week, I flew over to Europe for my second trip over there. And then, end of the season, I barely been lifting. I feel my body feels pretty good now since I took the time off. But I ended up throwing a PB at the second meet out there in Europe. After having a month off in the middle of the season, I literally took 2 weeks off and did nothing because I could barely put my shoulder over my head. Then I still ended up throwing a PB in September of all times too, which is insane. Like that's basically when I started fall training. So
Yeah.
you just kind of gotta have faith, man, and you know believe that what you're doing right now will carry over months from now. So that's huge.
100%. 100%.
Josh,
And
go
I
ahead,
think,
Jeff.
I think to go on what you're saying too, and hopefully we got some athletes watching this is like, at our level is like sometimes just feeling good is the best
Yeah,
thing we can do for ourselves.
absolutely.
Like, because we're always pushing that limit, right? Like, how far is too far?
Yeah,
Because like that's the only way to get better. But like,
yeah,
like like I said, like the end of my year, I ran a PB in September 15th
yeah.
under
Oh yeah, you were
13,
crushing
right?
it. Yeah.
And I literally like, after the Olympics, you know, I, I could say I was disappointed, but we'll talk about that some other time. But
Mm,
I come back and my coach was like, "Hey, like you ran great. Like you're in
yeah,
good shape. Like you're ready to go. Let's just compete. You got 3 weeks of competitions. Just go
for
for it.
sure.
Like we're not going to train. Like we're going to spend like 1 or 2 days training, and then just go
Right.
run. Take three
Yeah,
days
man.
off. Shake out. Go run. Take 3 days
That's
off."
awesome.
And
Yeah,
that, and then it happens because my body was already ready to do it. It's just
absolutely.
you just got to feel good.
I
So
definitely figured that out last year, man. That was huge. Like resting, like sleep and eating and just hydrating it pay off so
and just
much.
relaxing. Like
Yeah,
doing stuff
yeah,
you like to do other than training. Like,
yeah, man.
you got two
It's
weeks off to like go hang out with your family.
yeah,
Maybe if you
man.
did that, I don't know. Like, that stuff's
Yeah,
important too.
it's huge, man. Mindset. That's all a part of it, man. Especially when you want to achieve something like, a world medal or something like that. Everything's kind of got to be tied in together, man. It's not just what you do on the track that's going to get you there. It's like what you have around you, like what your mindset is at the time too. That's going to get you there. I kind of learned that NCAA's, man. One of my my trainers at South Carolina said I finished number 2 in 2018 at the outdoor NCAA's, and I was like, I didn't know how to feel about it because indoors that year I threw 21 meters, and then I ended up throwing maybe 20-80 outdoors, and to get my second place finish I threw about 20-40. But after the comp, he was like, man, so much has to go right for you to win like a national title. I'm not saying that, you weren't ready to win today, but I mean, there's just so much that's involved with you being at your best on that day, man. Like it's tough, you know.
And that's why the competitions happen. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
why we do it. It's the same thing
Yeah.
with me in the Olympic final. It's like you can say so and so should have won this and that. I could have ran better, but it's really one race, right? Or one competition or whatever. Everything has to click, especially when you're going through rounds, and then for you especially, right? Like you got SECs, which are super competitive. And then you got East regionals, which is like the same as like going to be nationals. So, and that's just all that stuff is you have to be so like clicked and locked in for like 6 weeks.
Yep, for sure.
That's hard to do. So
that's tough, especially coming off the indoors.
But that's good that you understand that now as an athlete. It's like, hey, all you can do is all this prep that we're doing now and the training. And then the best thing you can do is feel good for the competition and be in a good spot here, right? Like, I'm confident, ready to go.
Yeah.
Whatever happens. All of us are going to try our best. It's not like we're going to go out there and like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like we all care.
Yeah.
So, no, it's great, man.
Mm-hmm. I got a question for you here, Josh. Do you want to stick around with us while we watch some video of Rosie Brennan, or should we ask our last question and let you? It's getting late. You might want to get to bed and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I'm about to take it down. I'll just take one more question. I kind of got to get up and go to work in the morning.
So Dev, do you have a what were you thinking question for Josh?
You know what? I don't have a what were you thinking. I have one question just because this is interesting to me, and I want to just get your mindset. You kind of did the opposite of what most athletes do. You went from Nigeria to representing the U.S. Right? Most of the time, everybody's trying to run away from the U.S. because it's super competitive. And as a competitor, I'm like, man, Josh, like respects because now you're like in the fire. This is the hardest team to make. You already made a team. Like you literally are going in 10 days. So
man, in a week for sure.
What's that feeling like? What obviously, and I'm not going to be too harsh because like representing the U.S. and Nigeria are both great accomplishments.
Absolutely. For sure.
But what kind of led to your decision?
Ultimately, man, just the competition here in the U.S., man. Like those guys. I kind of thrive or feed off of that kind of stuff, seeing people really throwing far. We got Krauser, Joe, and my goals were to kind of get up there in those ranks. Mm-hmm. And I knew if I could make this team with the amount of athletes that the U.S. has, then I could get a medal at a world championship. Those guys, even like when I'm just training by myself, I'm like thinking, man, these guys are probably throwing 22 meters out in practice today. Or like they're throwing maybe like this ball 24 meters, this ball such and so. They're lifting this much weight, and I don't know, just that I don't know. They just kind of push me to keep achieving more than I think I can, and I think that's really paying off for me right now. Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. I love it,
motivate, man.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's amazing. I mean, what an amazing attitude to just go, look, I'm going to make the hardest team. Yeah.
Well, that's like that's like in college football when they're like, oh no, I'm gonna go to the school that has the most quarterbacks and I'm gonna beat them all out.
Yeah.
Hey, I love it. No,
for
but yeah, Bob, do you have what were you thinking? And we can let Josh go.
Yeah, I have a super easy. What were you thinking? Because it's the most recent thing. I mean, making the world indoor team. What were you thinking when you knew that? Hey, I'm on that team.
Man, I just had flashbacks to when I was in a freshman in college. I was like, man, because World Juniors and stuff. I tried to make the World Junior team 3 times in a row. When I was in high school, my junior year, senior year, and then my freshman year in college, and like every single time, I just kept climbing, but I would never be good enough to make that team. So I mean, even in the Tokyo team last year, man, that just had like left a bad taste. So I mean, when I made it this year, just kind of everything just kind of came together, man. This past year has literally been insane for me. The 2 years before this, I was struggling to throw 20 meters, and like I threw 22 last year, and now the ball's still rolling. I'm still getting better every competition. I had 2 back-to-back PB meets indoors, and man, I'm just grateful that I have people supporting me here. My training's going great, and I'm just grateful, man. Like there were so many people that just pushed me and motivated me, supported me from, high school coaches all across the board, my college coaches. I'm still training here. I'm a volunteer assistant at South Carolina. The athletes support me, push me every day. So I was just grateful, man. Even the opportunity that I had to go out in Chula Vista and train with like Ryan and Darrell was out there, Raven was out there for a bit. I was out there. I wasn't really throwing that well, but I mean, I learned so much just from being out there and around those guys, and it was just everything just came together. So the job's not done though. We gotta go out there and get a medal next week.
100%.
So.
There you go.
100%. We want to wish you good luck. I'm not going to be there unfortunately, but we'll be on some teams together soon.
Sure.
I guarantee
Sure,
that.
man.
I guarantee
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely,
Before
man.
before
Thank
you
you
take
guys, man.
before you take off, tell the people that are watching where they can follow you on like social media and stuff.
Instagram, I'm at Tunde Throws, TUNDE Throws. I mean, and Twitter, I'm at What's Next Tune, What's Next TUNE. So, yep, that's it.
Love it.
Appreciate
All right,
you
man.
guys,
Thanks.
man.
Hey, thanks for
Josh.
being on today. We really appreciate it, bro.
Greatest. Yep. Try to bring that medal back.
Yes,
Thanks,
sir.
bud.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Amazing.
So Dev, that was like amazing. We went like almost an hour just with him.
I mean, but his insights are like he's locked in because that's the way I think, and I think I'm locked in. So
as soon as I said the what does it take to be the greatest, he literally said what you said last week.
100%, like it's verbatim.
It was literally the same.
Like
word.
he was watching the show. He's probably one of those 2 million.
He could be one of our 2 million viewers. Yeah, that's probably what happened. No, I mean, think about that was just a great question. Think about what it takes. He says so. He ended up not competing for Nigeria.
Well, he was already. He competed for Nigeria, and then this is like, hey, I'm a rep US because that's like the most competitive.
So wait a minute. He competed for Nigeria in this past.
No. Just like in other like
competitions.
Other competitions, like
Got
I think 20. Shoot, I don't even know. 2016. Yeah. So but making that transit like that switch is not an easy feat at all, right? Like just committing to that is pretty crazy. Just because like he said, US is literally the hardest team to make, and it's just it is what it is.
Well, think of the 4 guys right off the bat that I can think of. Right, obviously Ryan Krauser, Joe Kovacs, Peyton Otterdahl, Darrell Hill.
Yeah, and him.
I mean,
and Josh. That's 5 guys that can. Like he said, if you make the team, you're gonna win a medal.
Yeah. By the way, I forgot to ask him. I wanted to ask him what he's tipping the scales at. Because it sounded like he's packing on a lot of muscle. That'd have been interesting, I think, for people to hear. Like, that was kind of cool to hear how he did that for a lot of young athletes. But when we were with Nick Ponzio, he said he was giving everybody a lot of crap when they were lifting, saying, "Hey, if you're not tipping well above 300, you're not trying." So,
yeah, no, I would, it's hard just based on the eyeball test, but I would say he's over 300.
He's got to be, yeah.
I mean, like Krauser's like a slim 300 because he's 6'7". But Josh, he like his upper body is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, all those guys are huge, so
So here's what we got. That we got a bunch to do. We don't have to do all this tonight. We can do some of it on another night. But so we got Rosie Brennan, right? two-time Olympian in cross-country skiing. So do you want to start rolling some of these segments? So my idea was I would roll a segment with this interview that we did. Maybe we would chat, we'd come out of it, you and I chat about, what we learned from her. And then kind of do a few of these segments. Let's do a few of these. We don't need to go to like 10:30. You got to get your rest. So what do you think? You want to do it that way?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. But I for sure want to make sure we get Rosie her time, because shoot, if we're gonna do it another night, she might be able to be on.
Well, she said she's coming back, but my theory, Dev, tomorrow never happens sometimes, So
Oh, for
whenever I
sure.
get a chance to get the athletes, I get them when I get.
Oh, 100%.
So let's roll into this. So we got, Rosie's two-time Olympian, Winter Olympian in cross-country skiing. One of the things that I learned that was insane, and I learned it at the end of so I recorded this interview earlier today because she's in, I believe she's in Sweden, but she could be in Norway or Finland. She's in one
She's
of those
somewhere in
countries.
Europe. Yeah.
She could be in Switzerland
She's
too.
probably
We don't.
competing in Europe. Yeah, just
She's
enjoying
competing.
life.
Exactly. And but I learned that at the Olympics, she competed in 6 events. Could you imagine that? Like, so one of the things that I learned is they compete in all of the athletes in cross country compete in all of the
all
events.
the events. Yeah.
So could you imagine that though? You're doing hurdles, you're doing the 100, you're doing the 400.
That'd be tough. I mean, here's the thing though. As a cross country skier, she's probably in great shape. So she better shape than me. I couldn't
Wait till you
handle.
hear. Yeah,
I
wait
could
till
barely
you
handle
hear
3 rounds of one event.
Let's roll into some of this. So I think first, so we're going to give the heads up to Robbie, who's kind of controlling our audio. So Robbie's going to have the audio going for the people in the restream. But I think on your end, if you're watching live here, you have to click. You have to click the audio to actually hear it.
Click the little audio button. Excuse me.
So I'm going to bring in this first piece. Let's see what we got. This is like her doing a quick rundown, her life story in 60 seconds. We kind of focused a little bit off of the field of play. So here we go.
Family, however, alpine, not Nordic. I didn't start cross-country skiing until I was like about 14. And I love chocolate. I have my whole life. That's always been an important part of my life. Let's see, what else is interesting about me? Well, I guess my mom, but I call it my cat, who lives with my mom because I'm gone all the time. Rudy is very important to me, and I dearly miss when I'm on the road all the time. Let's see, my boyfriend he's a 2018 Olympian in cross country skiing, and he is Alaska native. So we've spent quite a bit of time working on bringing skiing to rural Alaskan villages. And we love all things outdoors, camping, fishing, hiking, biking. Mountains are most important thing in my life, I think. Gosh, yeah, I don't know. I love cooking and baking. Baking birthday cakes is a big hobby of mine, and
So I was going to use that as a teaser, Dev, to say she has one thing in common with you.
One thing that we definitely need to get back on, because one, I have a twin sister.
Exactly.
Right.
What is with you athletes and the twins? Sam Kendricks, Gabby Thomas.
Dude, I'm not sure, but like,
is it competition in the womb? Is that what's going on? Like, and you came out with some superpower, and your sister has the other. Is that what's going on?
So my sister's a great athlete too. She was a 3-sport college athlete, so. And she likes to cook. Like, see, that's hey, I'm chefing it up. They call me Chef Dev. No, that's amazing.
So she lives in Alaska, right? She grew up in Park City. How about this one though? We found out everyone else from Park City or Steamboat Springs starts skiing at the age of 2. So she's a very late bloomer.
She's late, yeah. Late compared to everybody else.
14 years old. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's still hope for me. There's still hope for me.
I told her that you said you were going to be a world-class ski jumper by the time you're 50. That's what you said in one of the early shows.
You know what? I would love to be. I'm not putting anything past me. I can do anything.
This is the thing. You get addicted to all these sports. So let's see.
Yeah.
We're gonna, Robbie, get ready. We're gonna bring in another clip here. Let's see. Let's go to.
Let's have her do the clip of what it takes to be the greatest, because Josh said that, and I think that's a good thing to kind of piggyback since we're already talking about it.
Let's do it. Here it rolls. All right, this is the wrong clip.
So I raced 6 events at
Here
the
we go.
Olympics.
Here's the right one, Dev.
Which is all of them.
Oh,
but
there
I think...
There you go.
I think in this sense, I'm going to choose to define greatest as somebody who makes a difference in the world. And I think there's a lot of ways to do that. Obviously, people that are hugely successful in their actual sport can make a huge impact on the lives of others. But I also think those that aren't always the best can also make that impact. So I think being the greatest is about taking a global picture and making sure you're a person that's being a positive impact on the world as a whole through whatever medium you choose. And so I guess it takes perspective and some element of perseverance to get, whatever you're working on out there in the world, and like to be the best that you can be on any given day. I think that's how I would define being the greatest.
So Dev, she took a little bit of a different angle. It was pretty thoughtful. There's the other question about what were you thinking kind of dovetails into that. So I'm kind of itching to show you that one, and then maybe we talk about both of those, unless you want to jump in.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so let's do the what were you thinking again. Here we go, Robbie. This one's rolling.
Gosh, so many thoughts. So I raced 6 events at the Olympics, which is all of them. And like I said before, that ranges. So I did the sprint. That's the one I was 4th in, which is 1.5 kilometers. And then I finished with the 30 kilometer. So our 30 kilometer race this is the other crazy part. My first race was a 15 kilometer race. That was the first day of the Olympics. The 30 kilometer race was the last day of the Olympics. So we are on the whole time racing. And so it's like kind of, it's a wild ride doing all these events. And then also we raced the 30K and we literally grabbed our bags after this race, got on a train to the closing ceremony, and was living 36 hours of absolute chaos while being just trashed. My body was so trashed. So I think when we finally, and that's the other crazy part is then we flew, I didn't fly home. I flew to Helsinki to start World Cup racing again. So when I landed in Helsinki, I think, the first thing I thought was, wow, I made it, I guess. I think that was kind of the biggest thing, especially this year, it was one, you had to not get COVID, which was in and of itself an immense challenge. And then, we were going to China, which had all kinds of other crazy restrictions. There was stress about technology. There was stress just about being in a very foreign country. There was stress about COVID. And so there was all these additional hurdles to get over. And then I had set this goal to race in all 6 events, which was lofty as well. And so, I think when I landed, that was literally it. Wow, I made it. I did it. Maybe not everything went perfectly to plan, but I didn't get COVID. Nothing bad happened in China. I did all 6 events. I had some really great moments in those events, and then I made it out of there in one piece. And so, yeah, I think like it's, I don't know. For me anyway, it takes a lot longer to reflect on like everything that happens. Like when that plane touched down, it was definitely just like, wow, okay, made it, got it, did it. That's first step. So yeah, maybe that's not the most exciting insight into my mind, but it's I guess the first step of the process of processing everything.
That's kind of exactly where I was when I made my first Olympic team. Like, but that was like me getting on the plane from Houston, Texas to Rio. I was like, oh man, I made it. Like, there's literally like people like yay, and then like all the seats are covered in USA's because we like chartered. We had like a USA charter.
Okay.
We had like holding camp for the track team, so we took like a flight together, and that was kind of like the oh man, this is really happening moment. Like she had hers when she like actually got there and like didn't get COVID and got to compete. So,
I mean, I think she talks about it a little later in another one of the interviews here, but she was at the Sochi. No, was it Sochi? What was the last Winter Olympics? No, Sochi was 2014.
Pyeongchang.
Yeah. Actually, no, she was. I think she was in Sochi, and then she didn't make 2018. Maybe I have that wrong, but she's had a lot of ups and downs.
No, she made Pyeongchang. She competed. She did.
But she had mono the whole time. So she was actually competing with mono. She's like, I didn't know what was up with my body. I just felt like, she felt terrible. And but here she is. I think that probably had an effect on this, right? To just go, wow, I actually just got through everything, in that in and of itself. I don't think people realize though, Dev, like, again, to make the team is one thing. Only in your event, 3 guys make the team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Only 3. Only 3. That's it.
Usually those 3 are like the top 10 in the world.
So then you got to go through all your rounds to make it to the finals. Yep. So then this is why in some ways I think the medal count itself is kind of flawed. I get the concept that it is a competition and people do win, right?
For sure.
But I think it's and that's the whole point of it, obviously. But there is something to the look what it takes just to get there and just to compete at that high level. And then even, for her to have that perspective, I think is pretty cool to just go, man, and she finished 4th in I don't know if did you watch that race? The sprint race?
The sprint race?
It was.
I didn't get a chance to see it.
Oh, it was like people were like dying at the finish line. It was crazy. They were just like collapsing, barely getting.
You know what? I probably did.
Yeah, they were like Jessie Diggins, I think, finished 2nd. She was a U.S. cross country skier as well, but she literally like fell across the finish line and collapsed. And the other girls that were behind her were like, well, including Rosie, were like skiing around her to finish. Like it was that crazy. So again, putting yourself out there completely, right?
Oh, 100%. And that's kind of the culmination of everything, right? Is like, you get to that point and you're just like, all right, this is it. Like, I'm literally going to go, like, I'll die on this, I'll die on this track or I'll die on this, slope. Yeah. And that's just kind of the mindset that a lot of these athletes have is they spent so much time and effort, trying to, accomplish this goal. And that's the kind of the thing too. And I know you mentioned, Rosie had a question for me about like, a 4th place finish. Right. And like, obviously, like you said, somebody wins, but it's always, as an athlete, you always are going to be competitive and you're going to take the negative right away, but then look at the positive for the rest of your life. Right. Like, the negative right away is like, oh, I don't even know, 400ths or 200ths away from 3rd. Well, I could have got a bronze, but if I would have got a bronze, I'd have been like, dang, I should have got a silver. Right. If I got a silver, I was like, dang, I should have got a gold. And if I got a gold, I was like, man, I wish I would have ran the Olympic record or broke the world record or whatever. Right. There's always something. So, that's kind of the initial like mindset you go through. But then, secondly is like, whenever I tell people, you know, the normal person, not just an athlete, like anybody I meet or somebody that said like, oh, like you have an Olympic rings tattoo. Like, what do you do? I said, oh, I'm a hurdler. He's like, oh, like, you know, where'd you go? I was like, oh, Rio and Tokyo. And I got 5th and 4th. Like, holy shit. Like you got 4th place in the Olympics. Like that's
man,
that's
cool.
the only, that's literally the only reaction. No one, I've never, not one person has ever been like, oh man, so close to bronze, or like,
really,
oh, like you're close to, like literally zero. Like no one, you know, maybe my friends are just giving me that maybe
Maybe
are giving
that.
me a hard, yeah, maybe my friends are giving me a hard time, but like literally no one I've met, like randomly that found out I accomplished this feat has ever been like, oh, you know, it sucks, man. Like you only got 4th. Like they're like, oh my God. Like,
Yeah.
hey, you know, so and so, like their husband or wife, they're like, dude, this guy got 4th in the Olympics. Like, can we get a picture?
Dude,
Like,
exactly. Especially when you're
funny.
when you're in Eugene. The last time we were in Eugene, and I'm in an Uber going back to the shoot or something. The guy who was the Uber driver, you know, just chit chat, and I said something about what we're doing, and he immediately pulled out his card, and his card had a photo of you. He was a photographer. His card had a photo of you. He's like, yeah, I photographed Devon. He's amazing. Like it was hilarious.
Well, you know, and that's something funny too. To go off what Rosie was saying in our first, you know, question of what it takes to be the greatest, and we'll probably have to end it here. Is, you know, making a positive impact on people and having that influence. Like it's literally the coolest thing. And, you know, and I tell kids all the time, because like parents and kids are always like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, you know, do you mind taking a photo or signing an autograph? I'm like, dude, literally 15 years ago when I was 12, I was doing the same thing. Like my dad was like, yo, go get so-and-so's autograph, for like, hey, can you take a picture? Like, and I remember a story too, like when I was a freshman and you know, all throughout my college career and football, my dad would wait out by the locker room after we like showered and got dressed. He would wait outside and like make sure that everybody that wanted a picture and autograph like got one. He was like, hey, you like, did you? And I'm
That's
like,
cool.
and that's cool because like at some point, obviously you're doing something right to like have people want to even talk to you, for one, and then two, to like spend time to like give you the, like, people give me like the back of their iPhones and like sign that. I'm like, are you sure you want me to sign this? This is like,
Well, you gave your
know?
shoes away last week or 2 weeks ago, right? I saw
Yeah,
that.
I mean, and that's the thing. It's like sometimes, you know, like those things, especially when people don't expect it,
That's
you know,
cool.
like and kids are great because they're like the most pure, you know, expression of like being a genuine fan. Because like, you know, maybe some of the adults might be like, oh, I'm gonna take his shoes and sell them on eBay, but like a kid's like, hey, can I have your bib number? Like you don't second think that at all. You're like, yeah, of course you can.
Right,
Like
right.
here. But then sometimes you're like, oh man, I should have kept that bib number. That's the one I won 12.99 to, but that's okay. I'll do it again.
We can fake it. We'll just make a new one. So we got to do at least one more segment of Rosie. What do you think?
Let's get it.
So do you want to do what should we do? Similarities to track, crazy sledding in Europe, or overcoming disappointments?
I'm interested in the track similarities.
Yeah, let's do that one.
Just being selfish.
Okay, Robbie, we're gonna roll this one now. So let's take a look what Rosie says here.
Ran cross country for all 4 years in high school, and I did track for 2 of those years. And because I started cross country skiing so late, I was kind of like torn about trying to run in college as well, because I wasn't like, I was still feeling out skiing, and then I ended up deciding to commit fully to skiing. But anyway, I have followed running pretty closely since, and I really am definitely a fan of the sport. And so, yeah, I mean, I mean, like I said before, I think the craziest thing about skiing to running is just that, like, it is like if you had to do all the events, you know, that's what we're training for. And so I think that's like where they differ a lot. But I think they're a lot the same in that, you know, kind of the training routine is similar. Like, I think runners do doubles most days, every day throughout the year. the mentality is the same. I mean, I think someone maybe a sprint is obviously like a sprint in running is 100 meters and a sprint for us is 1.5 kilometers. So it's like a little different there. But I think, anyone who runs 1,500 meters and up, the mental game is exactly the same. We're pushing through the same kind of things and trying to master that fine line of pushing yourself just to the perfect pace for the distance that you're trying to cover. And then, especially in the longer races, there's the tactics involved in it. And trying to figure out, are you someone that has to go with 2 laps left, or do you have the last 100 meters? Is that your strength? All that kind of thing is very similar. And I guess, the other difference is that we go up and down hills, which a track is obviously flat. So maybe it's a little more like cross country running then. And so it's much less predictable. And so I think the hardest thing for a runner learning to cross country ski is to drop all the data. Runners, they're so obsessed with their pace and their, mileage and all this kind of thing. And because we're a sport that's, once snow conditions change. So everyone always asks me what's your 10K time? I'm well, literally they can vary by 10 minutes based on the snow conditions and the course. And then our courses are up and down and, have different aspects to them. And so you really can't be quite as data driven as a sport that's as controlled as track and field or swimming or something like that. I use a heart rate monitor for training, but it's more kind of just a guide. But outside of that, it's all feel, because it's just so variable. So you have to be really adaptable when you're in the race and ready to react to whatever condition you show up to on the start line. And even during the race, we're outside. It could start snowing in the middle of your race and there's nothing you can do about that. You have to just deal. And so it's really a lot about adaptability. And I think that's probably where a runner might struggle the most. But yeah, I think they are very comparable sports, and we often jump in running races in the summer for training and things like that. And we're of course more trail people, especially with trying to prevent injuries and stuff. The roads can be pretty crushing sometimes. But yeah, it's definitely a strong double. So I hope we can get a lot of running fans to also become fans of cross country in the winter, because I do think the race itself is has a lot of similarities. Yeah, I'm a huge
line and all that, Devon, was drop all the data. She's basically think about it. If a cloud goes in front of the sun, that probably changes the snow condition, right? I mean, if the sun comes out, if the temperature drops, if the wind dies, I didn't think of it until actually now. The snow itself is probably the biggest factor, right, for her, because that snow condition is changing constantly.
Yeah, no, and I actually was watching plenty of events in the Beijing Olympics where they were talking about oh, it snowed and now the track is super slow, right? They just they got fresh powder, so now it's slow, and so yeah, that makes a lot of sense. As one of those athletes where the conditions are kind of irrelevant because everybody's doing it at the same time, and then like she said, it's really probably just aerobic base, like you said, 1,500 and up, right? You're going so far that there is a little bit of time to catch somebody, and you have to be strategic in the sense you got to know your strengths and weaknesses. But like you said, if she can kick, if she's super fast, she can kick the last 200 meters and maybe catch somebody, or maybe she might take a K to catch somebody, and that's important to know. Track athletes do that all the time, right? You see the athletes you watch Matt Centro, who won the gold medal in 2016. He was the fastest guy in the field, flat speed. So he's I'm going to make it a kicker's race, the last 200, and see who can out race me, and no one could, right? And that's pretty interesting in those kind of events to me, and the parallels with training, especially their summer stuff when they do the trail running and the long distance. It's much different from what I would do. and training wise. And to be honest, I don't really rely on the data that much. I probably should, and I'm getting better at like keeping track, my training stuff, like training logs and everything. So me and her probably have similar personalities in the sense that like we just go out and go.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. And she's like, I think she kind of matches your passion for her sport and you for yours. And she's just like, yeah, I would love to get on the track with Devon. I'd love to have him come out and do some skiing.
Get on the hurdles.
Yeah,
No, I mean, and that's the thing too, is like as an athlete, like the most fun thing is learning something new that like, you can get so much better in a short period of time. Like we got kids, actually today we had 400 hurdle practice, and we got kids that have never 400 hurdled.
Yeah.
And they're literally like every rep they get like 20% better. And they're like, man, this is going to be great. I'm liking this now. I'm like, yeah, you just did 10 reps and now you're like 50% better than you were 35 minutes ago. Right. So like, it's cool. And that's like doing a different sport. Like Rosie, if she ran track and she has a track and cross country background. And for me, not having any background in skiing, I just know right away, like I like being outdoors, and I would just love to kind of just like,
this is what I mean. Yeah, we got to get a winter summer show going. You guys, though, the other thing that I love about the collection of you athletes, right? It's just you have that competitive fire, right? So if you're at a world class level, that's just innate, right? That's just who you are. That's how you're wired,
100%.
But then you have all these other skill sets that are going to translate somehow, right? I mean. Now, so if you're thinking about cross country skiing now, are you kind of getting the bug, or are you still sticking with speed skating as your sport?
So here's the thing: the only issue with cross country skiing is like that, like aerobic capacity and the training program is so much different. It'll take me so long to get good at it. Doesn't mean I can't enjoy actually just being out in the wilderness and like skiing across country. So that's what I'm more interested in. Like the ski jumping is more my shtick, because like okay, I can drop some lbs and I'm a pretty plyometric like athlete. I can jump pretty far, like I can do that. Same thing with speed skating, right? Like I could probably be more competitive in that kind of event just because it's a little bit more closely related, although I would very much enjoy cross country skiing.
I think we're gonna get some cross country skiing going in the Siosik household here. I don't know. It seems like something I should be doing. But I have a surprise for you though coming up on Thursday. So guess who we're having back? But it's pre-recorded. Guess who we're having back
though? I mean, we've had so many guests.
EJ, Aaron Jackson is coming back.
Oh, so we got her back, and we did the full segment.
I did a whole segment with her on Friday, pre-recorded, because she was leaving for Europe. So it was like, so we got a whole 30-minute segment. Wait till you hear it, dude. There's so many cool things. Like, the stories are just crazy. Like, again, coming out of nowhere, picking up the sport. Yes, I know she did rollerblades and, kind of roller skating and that, but to step on the ice for the first time, like in 2015, and now she's a 2-time Olympian. She had this one phrase that I'm just going to tease with you. She said at one point, and this is after the Olympics in the last Olympics in 2018. Yeah. She said, "I forgot how to skate after the Olympics." She literally said, "I forgot how to skate." So she came home. She said she went from the top tier. They have 2 groups, and she was top tier A group, and she got all the way down to the bottom of the B group. She's like, literally, I don't know, I just forgot how to skate.
Hey, sometimes you need it. Hey, I'm with you. I'm taking a break off hurdling actually right now, and I was trying to demonstrate. I was literally trying to demonstrate to my athletes today at practice, and I was like, man, it's only been like 10 days since I've hurdled, but I forgot how to hurdle. So no, I feel it. I can sympathize with that for sure. So
on Thursday's show, we have Aaron in a pre-recorded segment, and then we have Georgia Ellenwood. So George is a
Canadian heptathlete. Yeah,
Canadian heptathlete. She just
Great.
suffered like a really tough injury. So I'm happy to have her on. I think she's an amazing athlete. Going through a tough time. That is literally just last week, and I think she just had surgery on Friday or Saturday or something like that. So she's on the mend, but she's gonna jump in the what were you thinking seat come Thursday. So that should be a really cool show. You're back
That'd
on
be
Thursday,
great.
right?
Shoot. Actually,
Or are you out?
I'm flying to San Diego, but I could possibly be, I could do the cell phone thing again. To be honest,
Right.
that might work. But like you said, I'll try to make as many as I can.
We'll figure that one
Obviously
out.
I was competing last Sunday when you had the show. But yeah, no. So this was a great episode. Josh, so much good insight there, like being what it takes to be an elite athlete, like his kind of like path from being really, really good to like now one of the best in the world. And him heading over into Belgrade for the World Indoors. And then, Rosie just talking about, what it takes to be an elite athlete, the similarities between track and cross-country skiing and running in general. And just like the training, like she said, like the 2-a-days, like that's a huge thing in the distance community. Right. Like, so
Yeah.
it just gives you more confidence and more like, concrete proof that like most of these sports like are similar in the sense like we all have the same mindset. It's just we're all doing a little bit different stuff, which is very cool. So
That's cool. That's cool, Dev. I mean, this was a fun show. You're gonna have to do the ending though, but I just want to say first of all, thanks for letting me stop in because I don't know how to do the ending, so you're gonna have to do it.
Big shout out to Bob for being on. He's usually behind the scenes, but now he's on the screen. So thanks everybody for checking into what we're thinking. We will be back here again on Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern time. You can follow us on our socials. I think it is on Twitter. It's World's Greatest without the vowels. So it's WRLDSGRTST. You can go on YouTube, which I believe is World's Greatest Team.
No, we're
You can
just straight up World's
just
Greatest.
World's
on
Greatest.
YouTube.
On Instagram it's World's Greatest Team, right?
That's it. Yeah.
That's the one. And then you can watch this show on FanFest, watch.fanfest.io/World's Greatest without the vowels again. So shout out to FanFest Live for having us. Really cool platform, makes it super easy to get everybody in and out. So we can have guests from all over the world, at the same time. So thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Bob, thanks for being here. Well, you'll be here Thursday again, but just maybe behind the scenes. Well,
behind the
who
scenes.
knows?
Hey, no,
who knows?
We need Bob behind the scenes because I'm skewing the demo too old. We're supposed to be a much younger demo. So,
no, you're good. Hey, and that's the thing that's important is like you have a lot of insight of things and questions that I wouldn't ask. Like what's important to me might not be important to you, and maybe something important to you might not be important to me. So it's interesting to get that kind of like give and take. So I'm glad you're here, but we'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for being here. Have a good night.
All right. See you, Dev.